One thing I've realized over the period of time is that majority of the companies years ago, they had treated or they had considered IT as one of the support function only. So
Yes.
not really considering IT as one of the business enabler and nowadays even business itself. One of the thing which I think I was able to do is that to change that perception where IT becomes more like a business enabler plus business itself, where we focus more on automation and AI driven solutions. In the last 1.5 years, of course, AI driven, so they start thinking about this, that how can I do more with less resources? What is the way? Can we automate? Hey, what's going to be the ROI? Are we going to really, if you're investing $100, what would be the ROI? Now, ROI does not always mean that, okay, are we going to make a profit here in terms of dollars or rupees? What could it be? So, for example, could the ROI be a better customer experience? Could the ROI be better, let's say, processes? Could the ROI be in terms of profit or in terms of saving money? So
Right.
you would be able to do things much better, which means that somehow it's going to help you to save money or maybe sell more or maybe be more efficient towards the customers.
Hello, everyone. This is Varshat, the founder of Madwin. And today we have the honor of having Raj Dogra with us, who is the Chief Information Officer at UpGrad. So, Raj has been instrumental in driving the company's digital transformation journey. During Raj's stint at UpGrad from 2018 to 2020, the organization achieved a remarkable growth. Raj, we have a lot of questions to ask you, but before we do that and jump into it, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling pretty excited. Thanks for having me.
Super, super. So, Raj, we saw your journey, and is it like a conventional journey or the path to becoming a CIO starting from a broadband executive at Reliance?
Yeah, it was very easy. No, it wasn't. I think when I did my engineering, so I did my mechanical engineering, and it was from a polytechnic college. Initially, I was quite influenced with mechanical being the mother branch, and then most of my relatives were like, hey, you should do this, you could get a better job. And I felt, yeah, maybe they're right, because they were also mechanical engineers. And I completed my diploma, and after 3 years I realized that this is not what I want to do. When I
Okay.
went to different um, industry visits, I realized this is not something I enjoy doing. I should figure out something else. So since my father runs a business in Mumbai, I thought maybe I'll try something. I was always fascinated to work in an MNC, but of course I came from a more like a village setup. And when I came to Bombay, I realized that people were way smarter than what I was. I had not seen things which were there, whether it's about things, whether it's about the way people were, kind of culture which I saw. So it was a little difficult to fit into that culture. But then, of course, I fortunately got my first job, and I think what I felt in my first job is that what is the way for me to compete with people who are way smarter than me? I
All
mean,
right.
what can I really do? Now, of course, there's no pill that you take the pill and then next day you become extremely smart.
Right.
So the only way to do this was, okay, work hard.
Yeah.
You're gonna make mistakes, but you're gonna learn a lot as well. So initial years, I would say even later as well, 15, 16 hours a day, spending time trying to learn more and more so that I can compete with people was very important. And again, it's more than competing with people, it was more about making yourself better day by day so that you could do better in life. That's how it started. The journey has been fantastic. I'm very fortunate that I met with a lot of people. I had the opportunity to work with a lot of people who were extremely smart and very empathetic as well, who taught me so many things which helped me in the future when I was growing in my career. So, of course, not easy, but of course, something a journey which has been full of ups and downs, wins and losses, a lot of learnings as well. And I'm very fortunate that I had those opportunities.
That's great. Amazing. And this instinct from mechanical to IT, Was it planned? Did it just happen?
No, it was not planned.
Okay.
So once I was in Mumbai and I was trying to find out a job, I appeared for a couple of interviews. I
Mhm.
clicked some of them, or those interviews, but then didn't go further. And then I was trying to
Yeah.
figure out what is the other option I have, or what are the other, I would say, domains I have where I can do something. And I thought maybe customer service, maybe some little bit of tech support is something which I could do better because of the way my nature is that it's more supportive. I felt probably I could do better. So I,
Sense.
of course, tried for my first job, and it worked out. And that's how I started working as a executive in one of the telecom company.
It sounds good. Was it exciting? Was it interesting for the first few couple of months when you switched to this role?
Yes, it was. I learned a lot. I
Right.
mean, considering that the college which I did my engineering from did not have, I wouldn't say a bad infrastructure, but then it did not have the updated infrastructure.
Yeah.
And when I came to Mumbai and I saw a different type of computers, of course, it took me some time to understand what they were, how to operate. And of course, because I was not so keen in computers during my engineering, so I had to
Yeah.
learn everything. I used to skip classes and play cricket, but then,
Uh,
yeah, of course, after investing a couple of months, I was able to learn things.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Amazing. Which brings me to my next question, Raj. I mean, after becoming the CIO and being at the position that you were in, what's one decision you think you've made in your career, in any company that you've worked in, or any project that you have undertaken, that has had most profound impact on the company's direction?
So I think this is something which has happened in multiple orgs of mine where I had worked. One
Hmm.
thing I've realized over the period of time is that majority of the companies, years ago, they had treated or they had considered IT as one of the support function only. So
Yes.
not really considering IT as one of the business enabler, and nowadays even business itself. One of the things which I think I was able to do is that to change that perception. I
Hmm.
remember one of the instances in one of the organizations where I used to work where we were providing support, and then we got an opportunity to convert from a cost center to a profit center by offering tech support to one of the
Got
clients in UK,
it.
and it was a law firm, and we grabbed the opportunity. We worked really, really hard, making sure that we could understand their processes, their expectations. And considering they were lawyers, they were paid a good amount of money by their clients, and they were very, very concerned about their time. So any downtime was was really concerning to them. And when I had this opportunity, I was working as a manager for IT, and our country had tells me that, hey, would you be able to do this? And I was like, yeah, why not? We want to do this. So I think that
Nice.
was one thing. And I mean, to add to this, in the last few years, what I've seen is that changing the mindset of people from again becoming where IT becomes more like a business enabler plus business itself, where we focus more on automation and AI driven solutions. In the last 1.5 years, of course, AI driven solutions, but in the last few years, I would say automation as well, where we trying to push um, the the BUs or even the support functions,
Right.
making sure that they start thinking about this. That how can I do more with less resources? What is the way? Can we automate?
Right.
That was another one, and I think being in IT, one of the other things which we have identified is that there's a lot of emphasis on external customers.
Okay.
For example, what do they really need? Your website has to be clean, your app has to be great, you should have a great marketing strategy and all that. But what happens to people who are internal?
Right.
So focusing a lot on them as well was another shift, a mind shift, which fortunately I was able to to bring, where we started thinking about, okay, what are their needs? How can we get them better technology, whether automation or AI, so that they can do their jobs well?
Right.
And then, of course, eventually serving the customers more effectively. I think these are
Right.
some of the things I would say. It may not be just one, but but then something which is relatable.
Right. I think we'll get there. We have
Yeah.
this, planned question in our mind where we would love to understand how, in a business, whenever the business wants to pivot, or maybe if it is even a very small change, how does IT look at that, and how flexible are we to kind of accommodate our functions to the requirement on the ground? So I think this is one thing that we'd like to discuss later. But what is aspirational about being the CIO of a company like UpGrad?
When you're in EdTech, it it's a domain where it could really change things for people.
Right.
Think of it that um, when you're a student, or let's say working professional, and you're one of the earning members of your family, it
Hmm.
can make a huge difference. So it's not only an impact to you, but it's an impact to the whole family.
That's right.
So I think for me in EdTech, I would say some of the things would be, driving digital transformation in education, leading the adoption of innovative technologies that can really redefine how learning happens, and
Right.
how we can influence the experience of a learner as well, and make it more positive. Then other could be the outcomes itself. One of the things in UpGrad which we've always focused on is that we really want to make sure that if a learner comes to our platform, then
Hmm.
we are able to help them with the outcome they're looking for. So whether their outcome is to get into a different domain, whether that outcome is to skill in a different domain itself, or it could be that they want to get a promotion and that's why they're learning something new, or upskill themselves to stay relevant in the in the job market. So our objective is to ensure that they get the outcome they're looking for. Other is, of course, the customer centric innovation, ensuring that the solutions are more apt for customers, the way they're expecting the education to be. um, Other than that, I think lifelong learning, which is one of our mottos as well, influencing a culture of continuous professional development and lifelong learning, and growth as well.
Right.
I would say the other is, using the new age technologies like generative AI, or AI in general as well, to ensure that the students get a personalized learning experience. And with the help of AI, we are also able to understand what is working for them, what is not working for them, whether it's analytics, which tells us that what is really working for the student or not. I think these are some of the things which I would call out, as far as you know as a
Makes sense.
CIO of a company of an edtech is concerned.
For sure. And going a little offbeat here, but does it really matter, or, the situation, or the, kind of heat that edtech industry has taken in general in the last couple of years? Does that affect the environment internally at UpGrad? I understand the business model is completely different and it should not, but is there some kind of stigma at the people who work in UpGrad, or, you know, in general, do you see a lot of heat coming in?
I Look, I think if we go a few years back, um, of course we had a situation, we had a pandemic which pushed people to stay in their houses, and in order to learn, they opted for online education.
That's right.
It helped us to accelerate the adoption of an online education.
Right.
And of course, after COVID, there is a, I'm not going to say that we're growing in the same um, pace what we grew in the COVID period, but that doesn't mean that that the adoption of online education is less. Um, One of the other thing which we've also seen is that while Few years ago, there were multiple players, but we've started seeing consolidation. We started
Okay.
seeing that the players who are stronger, who have the better products, who are able to get the learners the outcomes they're looking for, they're going to stay here. The ones which are not really able to get the outcomes for the learners, the what they're looking for, may or
Right.
may not be able to stay. So, of course, we're trying to make sure that we get the right product to our learners. We are
Right.
able to get them the outcomes we're looking for. So I would say we're more excited. I'm not going to say that we're concerned that what could happen. Of course, if you look at from the sector perspective itself, some of the companies have not done well, and that has influenced the investors or the students or people in general as well. But that doesn't mean that the sector itself is not good. Think of the things which online education is able to bring to you. I mean, you could do any course which you want to do. You don't really need to go to the university, and it's as effective as going into a class. Of course, it depends upon individual to individual as well. I mean, if I don't pay attention whether I'm in a class or whether I'm doing something online, it doesn't matter. So
Right.
I think that um, this concept of online education really gives you a lot of flexibility and can help you a lot in ensuring that you utilize your time very effectively. So I'm personally very excited that we are in that space where we're able to help people to learn, to become better, and stay relevant in the job market, or even to do something new they want if they want to.
Makes sense. Makes sense. And now that we highlighted and are talking about the learning journeys of your customers and consumers, what impact can we possibly bring in, Raj, assuming that this is your day one at an edtech company as a leader? Where would that company be headed if we were to improve the customer experience from the IT perspective? I mean, is it even possible? If yes, then what lines would you start thinking on?
So if it's my day one, and if we need to look at the experience of the learner, I would say having a strong infrastructure, tech infrastructure, is very, very important.
Okay.
Um, that influences certainly that influences the experience of a learner. So ensuring that whatever tools, technology you're using is stable, it gives the a great experience to the learner. I would say the second one would be the content itself. I mean, if
Okay.
the content is not engaging, if it's not relevant to the student or the learner, they're not going to come to us. They might go to 10 different companies and then probably choose them. So, content would be another one. Third is about really ensuring that we understand the learner more, which means that having some sort of feedback loop where we understand what are they liking, what are they not liking, how
Right.
can we improve our systems, how can we improve our content, because in the end education is more like people are, if people are learning something new or if they're trying to enhance their skills, there is an objective they have and they want to make sure that they get to that objective.
Right.
And if we are not getting a feedback on whether our content is helping them out or our technology is helping them out, I think it may not work out, because sooner or later they will start looking for option. So I would focus on that part as well. Other than that, I would also say that using the Gen AI or AI, ML, all these solutions is also important. The reason is because what we've realized is that at times certain industries, and for example even edtech, we could grow really, really fast. And when we grow really, really fast, we usually think that, okay, let's keep adding more and more people. And then if the industry goes through a slowdown, it becomes a challenge now for an
Right.
organization to stay positive or stay profitable. So I think using the technology to ensure that whatever work you could give to the technology does that for you, and then more creative, more strategic work is done by your smart people, the individuals you've hired, and they do more quality work, which
Right.
means that they also continue to grow and learn
Right.
more, and they stay relevant in their jobs, and they are more interested as well. Because if they're doing something which is like, hey, you click on something and something, like, like for example, um, if it's just a basic work, click, 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 and that's it, I don't think so we can really retain people or keep
True.
the smart individuals with us. They're not going to like that. I
Right.
think these are some of the things I would probably focus on. So technology, people, user experience, and the content itself, because that's the key.
Right. No, that makes complete sense. And, while improving the customer experience, there's one more angle that pops up in my head. That is to understand how well or the improvement or whatever is happening with the content that customers are engaging with or how much they're being able to learn. I think data and analytics becomes a
Yeah,
very
agree.
strong pillar in the whole situation. So the question I'm trying to frame over here is in the organization like UpGrad, I mean, we would definitely, the goal is to improve and deliver better customer experiences and making sure the people who come on our platform learn. So there are multiple CXOs at that level. Do they all come up with their set of challenges in a war room, or is it led by the IT teams in terms of, just thinking of outside, taking the ownership and thinking out of the box, okay, this can be improved, this can be improved. Who initiates this sort of a discussion? And once it is initiated, what is the kind of process? Do you also check if it is ROI viable or not, if it is giving you negative returns, or if it is feasible to do so? Or if not, would you prefer going to an outside agency to do this for you? I mean, I clubbed a lot of questions, but we can go one by one.
So it happens both ways. So it could be the BUs who may identify a problem and come to IT or tech or engineering and say, hey, this is what I'm experiencing or we are experiencing. Is there a fix here? Can we try something? And once we understand what the problem statement is, we spec down what could be the solution, discuss with them, and then do some sort of POC, some sort of proof of concept that, hey, this is working, here is a solution which can be implemented. In certain cases, IT itself realizes that, hey, this is not working or we need a solution here. It could be related to automation, could be related to security, could be related to experience of our internal customers as well. And then we discuss that with the relevant people, whether it's a BU head or whether it's one of the senior individuals in that org, letting them know that this is what we've identified. Here is the solution possible. Here is what we could do. And some of the solutions maybe you could use open source as well, depending upon. It's again build versus buy concept,
Right.
where you look at whether you can build something. If you're building it, how much time it's going to take, and would that ensure that you're not falling behind the competition? If the answer is yes, then go ahead, build the solution. If the answer is no, then probably buying is a better choice, because
Right.
at times buying itself could would mean that, okay, you bought a solution, but if your problem statements are adding up, let's say you're getting more problems there.
Right.
Now, is your solution flexible enough, agile enough to accommodate those problems as well and give you a solution? So I think
Correct.
it happens both from both the teams, where depending upon whoever identifies the problem, there are of course proactive measures as well, where proactive conversation which happens where we talk about problem statements with people and then try and give them solution. Now, whether something is worth investing, whether there's going to be an ROI or not, so there are two things which could happen. Of
Yeah.
course, ROIs are important. The reason is because when you're investing, when you are an organization which is a high growth organization, and
Correct.
you are in a sector where the sector is struggling because of whatever reasons, and you want to make sure that you stay positive, you stay
Right.
profitable, because of course when you get money from the investors, they want to make sure that the company is growing, company is making money, making profits as well.
Uh-huh.
So usually the question, of course, comes up that, hey, what's going to be the ROI? Are we going to really, if you're investing $100, what would be the ROI? Now, ROI does not always mean that, okay, are we going to make a profit here in terms of dollars or rupees, or what could it be? So, for example, could the ROI be a better customer experience? Could the ROI be um, better, let's say, processes? Could the ROI be maybe in terms of profit or in terms of saving money? Or could the ROI be that, hey, things are going to be much faster, so
Right.
you would be able to do things much better, which means that somehow it's going to help you to save money or maybe sell more or maybe be more efficient towards the customers. So I think depending upon what is the ROI, the question would come, of course. Now, whether to go for it is what we usually that's the critical one which we discuss with people.
Okay.
So we do a pro and cons. Like if you have the solution, what is the pro you would have? Like what are the pros here? And if you don't have the solution, what is the downside of it? So let's assume that if somebody says, okay, I want to wait for 6 months and then probably I'll invest in this and we'll do the solution or solutioning, then we give them those that okay, here are the pros and here are the cons if you don't go for the solution. And then we make the trade-offs that okay, fine. At times, one solution could bring in everything for you, but at times it may help you to fix 50% of the problem. So
Right.
if that 50% contributes to a lot to you, you may want to say, okay, fine, you know what, that's fine. I'll go phase wise. Let me first implement the solution where I'm going to fix the 50% of my problems, and then I'll focus on something else. So these kind of conversations do happen, and we make trade-offs depending upon what is possible, what is not possible, how much time it's going to take, how much money do we need to invest, and what's the ROI, whether it's the dollar savings or you're able to sell more, or is it something else, whether it's customer experience or improving processes itself.
Does it make sense to put it in a chart sort of a view, in terms of priority order? How would you prioritize different business functions from an IT perspective? I mean, what comes first and then the hierarchy of what follows?
In the last couple of years, a few years, I think what I've understood is that when you're selling a product, sales is critical
Yeah,
department for you. The reason is that while everyone is important in the organization, whether it's the technology, IT, whether it's HR, finance, marketing, and everyone else, but then if the salesperson is not able to sell, it can create challenges. So I would say the priority is sales because they're the ones who are going to the customer. They're the ones who are selling the product to the customers. So the priority is, of course, sales, where we try and make sure that whatever we could do to improve their efficiency, we focus on that. The second could be, of course, the other teams as well, whether it's marketing, whether it's the other functions which are business enablers who are helping, again in some or other ways, like what IT or technology teams are doing. Those could be the second ones, but again, I would put sales as the priority because then that is critical to the business.
makes sense. I agree 1%. And that's pretty amazing. Which brings me to my next question. When you sit with the round table for a company like UpGrad, what is digital transformation looking like? Is it about matching or meeting the daily needs, or you would say that you've come to a level where you can innovate or think out of the box in terms of what can be, further optimized and what no other EdTech firm is doing, let's say?
Um, Look, I think it's both actually. You got to look at day-to-day stuff as well, that what are you trying to solve using technology, and then of course the second is what are your long-term goals as well, like what are you trying to fix using technology. So day-to-day could be more about, hey, we're doing this stuff, or we follow certain processes, can we put some sort of automation here so that we can save time, we can be more efficient, we are able to ensure that whatever time is getting saved here, people are able to put it somewhere else. Or it could be that can we tweak the solutions a little bit so that they're more efficient. Long-term strategies, of course, also critical. For example, how do you improve the customer journey itself? Like right from a lead coming on our platform to becoming, or rather, I would say, yeah, interest coming in and then becoming a lead and then becoming a customer itself. How can we improve that experience? Other than that, it could be what sort of technology we can use which can give us more insights, like analytics. We talked about that earlier as well. That analytics could really make a difference, because humanly it may not be possible for us to really figure out everything. Like, for example, everyone has their ways to analyze information. It is quite possible that if both of us are given the same set of data, we may make different meanings out of that data. So it's important that we're able to analyze what's working for us, and what's not, what's not working. Um, Other than that, I think, um, of course, making sure that we have some sort of competitive edge as well. How can we position ourselves in a better way, as compared to our as compared to our competitors? What can we do? Um, I think these are the things which I could think of right now. Um, yeah.
That sounds good. And coming from an angle, I mean, in the whole podcast, what we talked about the prioritizing of different functions and how sales come first, and the important facts, not ad hoc basis, not like some problem has come up now, so we find a solution to its long-term sustainable solutions that you want to solve. And then that angle where you were taking that call on buy versus build, I think it is a very important conversation internally and externally, because I mean, where you spend your time and resources on, what kind of challenges do you want to take up on, and what do you think can be better if outsourced in an environment like that. It definitely would take some strategic calls. So is there a defined process for all this, or every time a new set of challenges come, you have to sit, brainstorm, think about how you can go at it and solve it?
So when it comes to process, of course, it's more about, where you have some sort of conversations. And I mean, while you could have a checklist which talks about, hey, if you have, let's assume that there is a business problem which somebody has come up with, and what are the things which you need to do. For example, do you have a readily available solution for that? Is there any other team who might be using the same solution? Is there any open source which we could try? I mean, those kind of things are, of course, pretty common, and they could be used as a checklist.
Right.
But then, depending upon the problem statement, of course, we do sort of discovery by talking to the requester, where we have a program management office whose job is to ensure that we first list down what is the problem statement. We list down everything about it. We understand how is it impacting, um, what is the priority order for the requester when it comes to solving this problem. Does
Right.
this have a direct impact on the business, or is it an indirect impact? Does this impact the behavior of a customer? Like, would they come back to us to buy the product again, or would they just say, okay, you know what, I'm not interested, I'll not come back? So
Right.
depending upon some of these answers, we know that, okay, we need to fix this right away, or can we put it into our project list and then work on it later. So I think, again, it is subjective depending on the kind of problem is coming up. But again, there is a checklist which we follow depending upon asking the right questions, and then gathering the information, and then making an assessment whether it is something which we need to fix right away, or is it something which can be fixed later.
Sounds amazing. And I think that is how you evolve initially when you're a small company. You have that flexibility to think and, do what is coming up, whatever is the priority. And when you're an organization like UpGrad, things really have to be done in such a structured manner, because then there are all sorts of things. There are projections that you're making, continuously trying to improve the experience that you're delivering to your customers. And they also have some sort of expectations coming from an angle that UpGrad is so different from other edtech companies, where it's just not essential skills. It's about, everybody who's coming in to learn something from UpGrad. I think it's something that is coming from inside and not like a necessity. Okay, you have to do this. So that becomes a very different perspective. And people, when they come from this angle, they would obviously expect some kind of a mature environment, feeling that they're actually getting something truly amazing out of the whole experience. So, I mean, it was amazing understanding from your perspective. How do you look at all these business functions, and how decisions are taken internally? The build versus buy concept again is the highlight for me, because that makes a lot of sense, sitting and brainstorming before taking any decision. What was your experience? How did you have a good time on the podcast?
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, it is good. I mean, I think some of these questions really push you to think that um, one is, of course, when you're answering the question, you go through your own journey, what you've used, and you also realize what worked, what did not work. That's more
Right.
like a recap of your own thought process. That okay, you know what, I had this problem statement, I did X, Y, Z, I had a fantastic result, or maybe I had a bad result. Maybe I'll have to tweak it a little bit. Maybe I'll have to do something else next time if I get a similar kind of a problem statement, or probably something new as well. So that you keep evolving over the period of time. You keep refining, redefining yourself. Because one of the things I've realized is that some of the concepts which I learned initially, over the period of time, they all have evolved.
Right.
Whether it's professionally, personally, spiritually, all those angles, what I learned over the period of time, I realized that with more and more understanding, I started learning, okay, you know what? At times, it's just a way of looking at things.
True.
Um, I recently wrote a post on LinkedIn where, and again, this is again my own understanding of how we learn in life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily mean that this is how everyone thinks, but what I've learned is that when you're in a school, you're doing your education, you just learn concepts.
Right.
Something where, for example, being a science student, of course, first law of motion, second law of motion, and we can experience it as well.
Yeah.
But then again, you learn the concepts. You don't have any practical experience.
That's
But
right.
when you apply those concepts into uh, into your life, you get experience.
Right.
That's your second phase of learning. Now you start looking at things in a different way, and in a better with better clarity, because you're experiencing something which you've learned in school. I'm starting with school because I'm saying this is a basic level of education. And of course, that doesn't mean someone who may not have gone to school may not have learned. Then I think their learning might have started right from the experience. That's a stage two instead of stage one. Then the stage three comes where when you apply this experience again and again, you have concept learned in the stage one, you apply those concepts in stage two. So you get
Right.
experience. In stage three, when you apply the experience again and again in life, you're heading towards wisdom.
Right.
That's how the learning is. So you have four stages. You learn the concepts, you apply the concept in the second one. Third one is that you get experience. When you apply the experience again and again live, you're moving towards wisdom, which is what probably the goal is for everyone or
I
each
think
one of
we're
us.
all chasing that wisdom, but at the same point of time, every time when you jump at a problem, some new problem or some new challenges will come up. That, or in IT especially, though, if not new problems or new challenges, then there is new technology itself
Agree,
that
agree.
will come up. And you have to again start from scratch, because the way things were done earlier versus how they're going to be done 10 years later is going to be completely different. I just read this documentary from Netflix founder, and in the documentary it showed that in back in 2011, they were in the reselling of DVDs business,
Yeah,
and how in 2011 their stock prices just crashed when overnight they increased their prices by 60% and completely went from being a DVD company to a movie streaming business. So I mean, taking calls like this, where in short term, okay, you're gonna get so much heat, but you just have to keep evolving with that technology. You just have to think of long term. It's not about what's in the next quarter, what's in the next 6 months, because everything that is changing around us, tech changes in about every 2 3 years. I mean, it is constantly changing, constantly developing, but the dire need of changing with it makes us be on that track to be relevant in the market.
I agree. I think the the exponential growth of technology in the last couple of years, a few years, it's been crazy. I mean, and if people don't catch up, of
Right.
course, they'll not be relevant anymore. So of course, it's required, and I would also agree that at times you might need to take decisions which may sound irrational at at that point, but
Hmm.
if you have a longer vision, you know that okay, whatever you're doing is right. That is what the need of the hour is. You will get the results. I mean, of course, there are so many examples when company had been adamant, or company have tried so many different things that they've been extremely successful. I mean, one of the biggest example is Elon Musk.
Hmm.
So, I mean, look
True,
at the person who has done so remarkably well
true.
that he's not someone who is an automobile engineer, or I mean, of course, he was a physics student, so I think he does understand the basics and other things.
Right.
But then the kind of things he has done, I don't think so that if you have a basics of physics, you can do that. I mean, having a rocket company, having a car company, having um, maybe a boring company. There are so many things.
And
Solar city.
the
Yeah.
man doesn't stop. I mean, now the man's in government, and you only wait to see what will happen next with Doji.
Great.
Overnight, cryptocurrency of Doji will skyrocket and go 100.
Yeah.
That's just
It
crazy.
happened.
Elon Musk is brilliant.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the best persons, smartest one in the world as of now.
True, true. The one who played it, the
Yeah.
one who played it right.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Raj, for being here. I'll end this recording for a while.
Yeah. Sure.